the Daniel H9. So I already did a video on the Daniel H9. I'm a huge fan of Daniel H9. I actually love the Daniel H9. A lot of it is because of how unique it is. A lot of it is how flat it shoots and just the ergonomics in general. However, there have been people, some gun tubers, and I guess some people who have bought the gun, who have had problems with the Daniel H9. So what you're gonna get sometimes is, what a lot of people don't understand is, when you come up with a new product, like I'm talking a brand new product. So essentially, Daniel Defense acquired the IP of the Hudson H9, and you can go and watch my first video to understand the whole history behind that. But they acquired the HP and then decided that they were gonna come out with their own handgun based on that IP. The problem was when they got their hands on it, they realized they had to make way more differences to the point where they essentially created a whole new gun. So the overall silhouette and the kind of trigger design feel kind of the same as the Hudson H9, but this is a whole new gun. This isn't just the Hudson H9 revamped. It's a whole different gun. Now, anytime you're dealing with bringing a new product to the market, like this was one of the most unique handguns that had come out in the last 5 years when it came out. And then now you have basically a complete redesign of that. So anytime you do something like that, the first batch, whether you like it or not, Daniel may have a problem with me saying this, but everyone who buys the first batch is a beta tester. And the reason why that is because you can only do so much testing with a gun to bring it to market and account for every single variable. You got to think about how different people are. Like one of the issues that some people were saying, I saw a guy, he was saying he had issues where he felt like the gun was kind of cutting his thumb up a little bit or rubbing his thumb raw under recoil. I've yet to feel that whatsoever, and I've run a ton of rounds through this gun. I haven't felt that at all. I have no issues with this first gen of the gun. None at all. Absolutely none. No issues. But there are people out there who do. And as you scale the amount of guns you build and put into the market, that's when you start encountering all the variables you couldn't possibly account for until you put some of them out into the market and understand what's going on. And that's where this comes in. Gen 2. I'm calling it Gen 2. They're not officially calling it Gen 2. I'm calling it Gen 2. Largely to make it easier for me to talk about it on camera, because they basically look exactly the same, unless you start doing this micro investigation and then learning the differences. So for purposes of this video, the Gen 2 is the one with the red dot on it, the Loophole Delta Point Pro, and the Gen 1 is the one with nothing on it, just so that you understand. So as we look here, like one of the things I didn't notice until later on was the damn beaver tail. So as you look here, the beaver tail on the Gen 1 is more pronounced than the one on Gen 2. And not only that, they've kind of rounded off the edges on the Gen 2 versus the Gen 1, as you can see here. And I'm assuming that has to do with some of the people complaining about it kind of rubbing their thumb raw. You wouldn't learn that or know about that unless you had a bunch of these out there with people with different hand sizes shooting the gun. So there's that. Now, what I want to do is, so Daniel sent me their Gen 2 and they were like, hey, can you talk about some of the changes that we've made to the Gen 2 versus the Gen 1? Because we want to let the market know that, hey, we're listening to what you guys are saying out there. And we want to, look, I was intimately involved with this gun and the production of this gun. So I know for a fact that this is Daniel Defense's baby. This is their baby. It's their first handgun ever. So for them, they're kind of, the feelings are in it a little bit. And I don't think that's a bad thing, and here's why. Because when your feelings are into something, you have a baby, you have a creation that you come out with, and people are telling you some of the things that are good and some of the things that are bad. When you kind of have a little bit of your emotions invested in it and you genuinely want it to be good, what you're gonna do is you're gonna make those changes. Now, the difference is sometimes people let their egos get involved and they're like, no, the gun's perfect, nice, that's it, right? You're just shooting it wrong. Well, in this case, Daniel's like, no, we wanna make sure this is right because this is our baby. So even, I've already shot this thing off camera, so I already know, to me personally, the differences are negligible in my mind, and largely because I never had a problem with this gun. I never had a problem with the Gen 1, but I'm also one example. And because I am one example, I can't say that's the case for everyone. That's just the way the game works. But either way, what I'm about to do is I'm about to shoot these back to back. and then give my impression on the changes that they've made and whether or not those changes are noticeable and whether or not they make a difference to me. Now, I'm gonna keep an objective mindset by understanding that everybody ain't me. I'm sorry, everybody can be perfect. But I'm gonna shoot them back to back, Gen 2, Gen 1, and then give you my take on whether or not these differences make a difference. Now,
I know you're watching the video, but I want to talk to you about ammo real quick. If you're tired of scrambling for ammo, you need to check out Ammo Squared. These guys have revolutionized the way we stock up. You can set your budget, pick your calibers, and Ammo Squared handles the rest. They store it for free and deliver it right when you need it. Remember back in 2020 when ammo was nowhere to be found? Well, yeah, Ammo Squared customers just clicked the button and had theirs delivered. It's kind of like a ammo 401k. Kind of smart, right? Now, you can switch calibers or cash out anytime. It's pretty much effortless ammo management. So stop stressing and start prepping and check out Ammo Squared today. And always be ready. And thank you, Ammo Squared, for sponsoring the channel. All the ammo used in this video was brought to you by Nosler, maker of the most innovative, most accurate, and most effective bullets and ammunition in the industry.
all right, so this is the Gen 2 or the Gen 1 version of the Daniel H9, the Gen 1, not the Gen 2. Gen 2 has the optic on it, or the red dot on it. So what I want to do is I want to see if there's really a difference in the trigger. So let's find it. So I'm gonna start by shooting one-handed, kind of get a feel. I kind of already know what this trigger's like because I already did a video on it. But as you can see here, you have that nice, accordion take up right there. Hit that wall, little crease. Oh, and then there's your, reset. Oh, I don't really know what they supposedly are improving on this trigger because I actually really like this trigger. So it's kind of odd to me that I guess some people didn't like the trigger. I don't know. So now I'm gonna go two-handed just to see. Okay, trigger's good in my mind. I don't know. So, but this is the original. I guess some people felt some type of way about the trigger. I think some of the people were like, well, for a gun of this price point, the trigger should be a lot better, or noticeably better. I think the trigger is actually really good. But I will say this, if you're not accustomed, like this trigger is a very unique trigger. It's different from a lot of triggers. Actually, it's one of the most different triggers on the market for a gun in this category. And like I said, you kind of have that like accordion kind of take up right here. And if you're coming into it from the perspective of a typical trigger, it's gonna throw you off a little bit. And you're gonna feel like, wait, this trigger is not that good because you're basing it on a traditional style trigger. And I actually like this trigger better than traditional style triggers. But it's kind of a combination of a traditional Striker Fire style trigger and a 1911 trigger. Essentially, is kind of what you're getting. And for me personally, I like it quite a bit. Like I can run the gun really easy. So, but let's see what the other one is like. Let's see if I can have any noticeable differences and improvement between this Gen 1 version and the Gen 2. So now this is the Gen 2 Daniel H9. So essentially what they've said they've done is they've kind of improved the coating, changed some tolerances. So essentially this would be kind of a shorter trigger pull, a cleaner trigger pull. Here we go find out. There. Let's see. First of all, like I said, I'll start off shooting one-handed and see how we go from there. So initial take up, honestly, kind of about the same for me. Actually, it's ever so slightly cleaner. Well, yeah. So, yeah, actually, it's kind of clean. Okay, so the reset is definitely shorter. So much, in fact, I thought I didn't reset the trigger. So that last shot that you just saw, the last shot that you just saw, actually was kind of surprising to me. Like I knew that it might go off or might not go off because I wasn't sure if the trigger actually reset, but it did. And so here, let's see, here. Okay. Really where I'm seeing the biggest difference, there's not much of a difference here. In terms of the take up, it's ever so slight, but not really. It's that reset. That's where I'm getting that feeling from. And then even from a trigger pull standpoint, it's ever so slightly lighter, but really where you're noticing it is the trigger reset feels shorter. Now, whether or not it actually is shorter, I don't know, but it feels shorter because it could just be that it's just cleaner, giving it the impression that it's shorter or lighter. But I am noticing that the trigger resets, it resets a little bit noticeably shorter than on the original. So if I had to pick and choose between the trigger between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2, I'm gonna go with the Gen 2. Largely because of that reset, and that allows me to sit on that trigger and mag up that thing. I'll show you. So now we have the Gen 1. So one of the things that were called out as far as issues were some people were saying that their gun was keyholing. And for those people who understand what keyholing is, when you're shooting on paper sometimes, a keyhole is basically the bullet tumbling. So something about the barrel is causing the bullet to tumble. I hadn't experienced this whatsoever on my Gen 1. However, on paper, for some people, they said they've experienced that. So Daniel Defense has improved their barrels, and Daniel Defense is known for their great barrels. So I'm even surprised that this is even happening in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. But again, brand new product. As you get more of them out there, you're gonna possibly have some issues with some as you scale up production. And then the only way to deal with that is to fix it in real time. And that's essentially what they're doing with this Gen 2. Again, they don't call it a Gen 2, So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shoot on this paper target. I'm about 15 yards away, and I'm gonna shoot just on the left, and I'm gonna purposely have a wide group, which is just an excuse for me not to have to shoot accurately so I don't embarrass myself. But also I'm doing it so that we can see that there generally is no keyholing going on. So this is the Gen 1 version of the gun. All right, so as you can see here, 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 rounds, no keyholing. If there were keyholing, it would look something like this, or something like this. Now this target was already torn, but as you can see here, there's 15 rounds, no keyholing with the Gen 1 version of the gun. That's not to say that it did not happen or it hasn't happened to other people. I'm just telling you, from me and my experience, I haven't experienced it, but clearly it's happened to a degree where Daniel Defense felt they needed to address it, and that's what they're doing now. So as you see here, no keyholing. Now at this point, I guess I technically would say, all right, well, the new gun should definitely not do it, so there's no point in checking to see, but fuck all that. Let's go see if the Gen 2 does it. All right, so now, Gen 2. Let's see if it keyholes. If what I think happened, I'm gonna be so pissed right now. Yep, I think it happened. Let's count. 3, 6, 9. Nope, it didn't happen. All right, so what I thought happened was this little rip right here, I thought one of the rounds went through there. And then when I would come up over here and count the number of rounds, one of them would be here and be like, look, we told you keyholing and the keyhole in the paper. No, it didn't. That was already there. But as you can see here, all 15 rounds, no keyhole, not much to talk about. Gen 2 didn't keyhole, Gen 1 didn't keyhole, no keyholes. You know, when you start saying keyhole over and over and over again, it starts to sound inappropriate. Like, you know, just like no keyhole, no keyhole, no keyhole.
I think that's just in your mind.
I mean, I am a child, so I guess you got a point.
I will agree with that.
Shut up. All right, so there you have it. Like I said, this video is a little frustrating for me because I didn't have any issues with my first gen version of the gun. But that's not to say that other people haven't had issues with their gun. If I had to pick and choose, I'm gonna go with the Gen 2 because clearly they've made updates to it and improved it. No matter how slight, it's still an improvement. But if I had a Gen 1, I can't say that the improvements are enough to make me want to go and upgrade to that model, so to speak. But if I was weary about some of the things I was hearing about a Gen 1, that are out there on the market, the Gen 2 works just fine. Again, I never experienced any issues. That's not to say they haven't happened, but God, this is such a good looking gun. I really like the way this gun looks, honestly. I really, really, really like the way this gun looks. Oh, that being said, too, as you can see, we're out here at Whiskey Hollow. I've done a video out here before. We're out here in Montgomery, Texas, which is essentially Houston for all intents and purposes. But if you wanted to come out here and, I don't know, Airbnb it and come out here and you got your own little private gun range back there. You got this barn dominium over here. It's really nice. It's interesting because it's like a getaway within the city. Like, how many places do you know within the city where you can shoot outside like this, like you're in the middle of nowhere, right? And then it's just literally a 40-minute drive. Okay, I'm underestimating, it's like an hour drive back into Houston. But just even around here, like once we leave here, there's a freaking Chick-fil-A and a bunch of other stores and shops and all bunch of shit. It's like it's a city. It's crazy. And there's like nice houses right outside of these tree lines, and it's a dope spot. So if you're looking for somewhere to Airbnb, trying to get away for the weekend, yeah, check out Whiskey Hollow. I'm pretty sure Peter's gonna do his little editing thing and put that on there. You know, it's become more of a thing, Peter. I keep saying Peter's gonna do his editing thing. You know, like kind of like I'm just down demeaning what you do, and that you really don't have any value or use. Just do your little editing thing.
You don't even have to say it because I'm gonna do it anyways.
I think I do that because I use it as filler language.
Which you're doing right now to stall for time. The video's been done for like 5 minutes now. I'm not even recording this.
I wonder if we can Uber Eats out here. Yeah, let's find out, because I'm hungry. Yeah, let's Uber Eats. Let's see. I doubt it. Either way, Whiskey Hollow. All right, so that's it. You got the Gen 1, then you got the Gen 2. Yeah, there's not really much to say other than, at least in my case, they both work just fine. This one's a little better, Gen 2, but this one's still good. Oh, so now when I stop talking and the video's over, you're still recording. But just a minute ago, you were complaining about the fact I was stalling for time.
I'm not recording.
So then why are you playing the camera?
I'm just holding it. We're not even gonna use this, so
Yeah, right when you start editing, you're like, I think I might use it.
One thing's for certain and two things are for sure. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended to you. And we're all fighting this culture war together. Now, you can help do your part by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, sharing this video with at least one person. Together, we can stop the suppression of our 2A rights. And don't forget to click the link in the description section of this video for the products that I mentioned in this video.